All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to our city council meeting tonight. Appreciate all those who are here with us in person and all those out in TV land. I've asked Councilman Mendenhall to give us an opening prayer.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're grateful to be here tonight to discuss the affairs of this great city. We're grateful for all of our blessings that we've received and will continue to receive. We ask that would watch over and protect everyone at this meeting or not at this meeting and in the confines of our great city. Please especially bless those that are protecting our freedoms, those that are responding to our emergency needs, and let them know how much we love and care for them. We're grateful for all of our blessings and ask thy Spirit to be with us here tonight and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. I've asked Councilman Scobes to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise and repeat the pledge with me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move to Employee of the Quarter. Who's going to handle that? You just want to make your way on up here. You do it first? Yeah. He got there first.
Okay, I'm excited to announce this employee of the quarter. It's Gatlin Gardner. He's worked for Spanish Fork for several years and has become the assistant fleet and garbage superintendent, garbage division manager, and he has done such a great job and really a resource for the whole city, and we've really appreciated his work here. I keep nominating him over and over again, and to the point where I had saved my paragraph that I'd written to nominate him in a document, and then I copied and I pasted that just because I felt so strongly that he deserved this, and is such a great employee, a good friend, and I just really appreciate what he's done for our department and for the whole city.
No, I just want to say thank you to the city and to all those who nominated me. It's pretty cool. I don't know. Thank you.
Good. You didn't even have to wait till you heard the music.
Yeah.
So we got a little certificate here and a little something. If you don't like it, you can give it to me.
Thank you.
Thanks. Congratulations. Oh.
Thank you.
Yep, make sure you shake everybody.
He's not a bad mechanic either.
Okay, so for the employee of the third quarter, right? Employee of the third quarter, Nick, why don't you come up? Jill, I want you and the boys to come up here too, would you please? Sorry. Oh, shoot. Just some of the boys. Jill and the boys. Nick Hanks has been nominated and awarded the Employee of the Quarter for the third quarter. Most of you know we've had a really strange year, and Nick was put in a precarious position with the rodeo. When you sit and see major rodeos all over the country canceling, and Spanish Fork presses forward in this difficult COVID year, there's just a lot of issues that were going on, trying to convince the committee and working through different issues and sponsors that were dropping and new ones coming on, and It was a difficult challenge for us, and Nick led the charge. And I know that Jill and the boys have been involved in this rodeo as well, in helping us in many aspects of putting it on. As a result of that as well, we got nominated as one of the top large outdoor rodeos in the country this year, and that was exciting for us. But I appreciate Nick and grateful to have him as part of our team. He's a leader and he's a doer. He's one of these guys that doesn't just talk about it, he does it. And so we appreciate his leadership in making this happen for our citizens. The rodeo was a tremendous success. Had a lot of dignitaries there, and it was fun to see that actually come to pass. So Nick Hanks.
Go ahead, you get that 30-minute speech.
Just 8 seconds is fine.
Yeah,
You can make it
that's
that
about
way.
all I need. I'm apt to say something I probably shouldn't. So thank you to Dale. Dale's the world's best boss. He is happy to help and answer any questions, but he's also happy to let you run and do it. And he's a wonderful, wonderful man. Thank you to you guys. You know, the rodeo, as much as I wanted to see it go, the mayor, Seth, the council, it wouldn't have happened without you guys. So I'm grateful for this award. I'm grateful for my job. I love working at Spanish Fork City. We have awesome employees, awesome elected officials. It's a great place to be, so thank you.
Thanks, Nick.
So maybe while some of this is happening, I'll say I think one of the things I think is really cool about this, and I'm glad Dale invited Jill and the boys up. If you're here during the rodeo, you'll see all of them here playing around, right, Nick? Yeah. Jill's here all the time, and the boys are here, and I think the boys are probably in heaven that week, right, Trey? But it really is a fun family thing for them, and it's neat that they're fully invested. So I'm glad that they came up. Luke, did you get that prepared? Are you ready? No. Luke's so glad he's got a mask on and can't see the red face, but I asked him to prepare a speech, and I think he's ready. No, all right. I'm just kidding, Luke. Great
Good job.
Great family.
All right. Hey, we've got some great employees here at Spanish Fork, and that's what makes this city run so well, and we appreciate each and every one of you for all you do. So
Mayor,
thank you.
May I just add, I wasn't up here when Chris introduced Gatlin, but really just Gatlin's done such a great job for us. He came a handful of years ago, and I knew his dad and his dad's skill set, and I wondered, did the apple fall far from the tree, or is he going to be good? And man, he's great. You did a great job, both of you, raising that young man. He's got a little bit of spice in him, which you know. Yeah. He's got a little bit of spice, which we love, and his skills are just fantastic. And he's added a dimension in our shops that's been well received and much needed. So we're grateful, and I think it's a great honor that we get to honor Gatlin here and his family too. So we're grateful that we have him as a member of our team as well. Thanks.
Great. Thanks a lot. And you don't have to stick around for this whole meeting either. So
You already got your certificate.
Yeah. All right, let's move to public comments. Anyone that's from the public would like to come up and address the mayor and the council, you're sure welcome to come up. State your name, and you got 3 minutes. Yes, right up here. Just come right up there. And
I've never been to one of these before.
that's all right.
Welcome.
There's always a
I don't even
first
know the
time.
structure. So my name is Jessica Neild. Can I pull this down?
Yes, you may.
I live in the Meadow Creek Ridge subdivision over by Lowe's, and my neighbors and I, several of my neighbors and I have been picking up methane readings with combustible gas detectors. We've had Dominion Gas out, who has also picked up a methane reading. We've had a plumber out. So there have been several different meters, if you will, detectors that have picked this up. I have lived in the home for 15 months now, and have progressively gotten sicker and sicker and sicker, and my 6-year-old is beginning to get sick. I have some neighbors who are sick, and I have been working with city officials to try to get the situation resolved. Recently, I have had to remove myself and my family from the home and stay in a hotel, as the readings have been concerning and my illness has gotten worse. And our symptoms did improve as we left. And I have run out of funding for myself out of my own pocket, because I have to pay my mortgage, to continue to keep myself out of the home. And against both our 2 different physicians and a pediatrician's advice, I have no place else to go but home. I don't have family that I can go stay with, and I have some neighbors who are so ill. In fact, one of them can't be here this evening because she's bedridden and her illness has gotten so severe. Now, whether or not it's absolutely related, we don't know, but we know the facts, and the facts are we are getting readings. We are right next to the old landfill, if not right over the top. We don't know. We're trying to get answers, and we feel a sense of urgency right now because we're sick. And I'm just, this was kind of a spur of the moment thing. You know, we looked up, I don't even know who my city council members are and who can help. But I'm just coming to plead for some help for my neighbors and myself to get some answers and to get some help wherever we can, whether it's help with some lodging so that those of us who are very ill can get some clean air and get to the bottom of it. So that's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you. We'll address you once everybody's talked here. Anyone else would like to come up? Okay, seeing none. Seth, would you like to?
Thank you. Thank you, Jessica. I appreciate getting to know you. I'm Seth. I'm the city manager. You and I haven't spoken, but I know you've spoken with a number of our staff and have had a lot of correspondence there. And Mayor and Council, this is our first opportunity to gather. So a lot of you don't know at all what she's referring to, but we have planned to discuss later tonight some of the issues here. And we've tried to be and have been very responsive to the concerns that Ms. Neild has expressed. We've been out on site 3 or 4 different times during the month of December. We've participated in a lot of the tests that she's talked about. We've tested and sampled water inside the home and outside of the home. There's been some air samples that have been taken as well by a company. I believe they hired that environmental company. So, right. Anyways, there was a company that was hired to do that, and we've had a handful of tests, and we've got the results from those, and they've come back as we've received them, either non-detect or very low, depending on whatever the substance we were looking for. But we want to be able to brief you on some of those details, more of those details, and I don't know if John Little was able to reach you before this meeting, but we suggested getting together with them probably Thursday afternoon and following up on anything that we have, walking through everything that we know and anything that they know, and then proposing maybe a few other things that we can do, testing. But at this moment, in the areas that we've tested, we've been targeting the things that they've identified, specifically first and foremost water and plumbing. We did hire a plumber to come out. And they removed toilets, I think, on 2 occasions. They performed a test of the plumbing in the home on the 21st and the 23rd of December, and they found everything was good there, which is good. We did some water samples on the 21st, I think. My dates aren't quite right, and we got those results back on Monday, and those came back good, if you will, non-detect or certainly within the limits of testing and for all the different chemicals. So that's good. So we've been getting good results in terms of things that we've been testing for. I don't think we've exhausted everything that we can do, and there certainly are other things that the homeowners can do. But I think you're getting this cold turkey, and I think it's appropriate for us to have the opportunity to brief you on everything. And then what I'd like to ask from you is the ability to get together with these homeowners on Thursday, if we can, pull something together with them and just walk through what more else is possible to do and identify what maybe the city can do and what they can do to help identify what the problem is and where the problem may be if we can find anything. So.
Great. All right, so we'll have you work with Seth and that. So it sounds like we've got something set up for Thursday. So
I don't think we have anything set up yet, but that was our proposal,
Okay.
and we would reach out.
We'll
Like I
work.
said, I don't know if John was able to get with you by text, but. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the plan. We'll get, our intent would be to have something later Thursday afternoon or early Thursday evening.
Okay.
If many that want to be.
Tonight?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thanks for coming. Okay, let's go into council comments. Council member Beck.
I don't have anything.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilman Scobes.
Mayor, just a couple of things to report. First and foremost, tomorrow, in fact, at 6 o'clock, we have Veterans Council meeting. I'm sad to report a member of that council, Rick Olson, one of the VFW representatives, has passed away just recently. COVID-related issues is all we know or have, and so our condolences and sympathies go out to the Olson family, not just for his service to the community, his service to service to the VFW, but his service to our country as a veteran. It gets me whether they're young or old, losing a brother. So at any rate, we meet tomorrow at 6, unless there's a conflict with Rick's viewing and funeral and things like that, which we haven't heard of, so it'll probably continue at 6. Next week, before our next meeting, have the animal shelter meeting, which I'll have a report at our following meeting for that. And then December, we had the Utah Lake Commission meeting. Just went over governing documents, more talk about nutrients and nutrient levels and what they're doing to abate them. I've received several emails just on contradictory information to what the state is looking at, and so there are some questions and things that we'll be looking at just to try to get more information. But really, the meeting was just going over governing documents, finishing out the year, going over financials for that organization. That's all I have to report, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilman Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mayor. First, Senior Citizen Center, just appreciate all they do down there. What a tough go for a while here for our seniors who love to meet together and just haven't been able to for coming up on nearly a year. So I just want to give a shout out to Verna Joe and the other folks down there that care a whole bunch about the older community in our city, and they produce good content. Thanks SFCN for always being willing to get that out. When I do get to talk to some of those senior citizens, they let me know they're watching. So trying to reinvent stuff to connect with as many of them as we can until we can all just eat a good lunch again every month. So thank you, Verna Joe. Thanks all the senior center staff that's doing some good work down there. The League of Cities and Towns, we have some meetings this week. Legislative Policy Committee meeting, as well as a task force that Seth and I sit on with police chiefs from around the state. called the Love, Listen, and Lead Task Force. So we'll have another one of those meetings this week that we can report back after that meeting. I don't see Heather Youd from the chamber here. She's got a daughter that I know they're having some more medical things with her, so would excuse her from here tonight. But she did let me know that the city of Spanish Fork was nominated and selected by the businesses, by the members of the Chamber of Commerce, as the business of the month for the month of right now. So on Thursday, we'll get we'll have a little bit of a presentation to the mayor virtually, and get that award out, and be safe while doing it. But I thought it spoke well with who we already saw tonight, but with with Kelly up next here. Just a company is as good as the people that are operating it, and that's just what's really neat about Spanish Fork. Is the secret is the people, not just the residents that live here, but really the people that do great work day in, day out, and a lot of times selfless work for our community to just make it a better place. So fitting and very cool that the city gets to have that honor this month. The Active and Healthy Minute. I didn't know Ms. Niels was going to be here, but this going into, I sent Nick a picture of when I was running the other morning on, I think I was on my 10th mile or something like that. Maybe it was the 20th mile. I don't remember, Mayor.
Yeah. Nose has grown, Pinocchio.
Yeah. Susan knows. Sometimes I run into her. She's just starting and I'm finishing, my run. No, I was driving. I think I went to a donut shop or something and came back early in the morning. But this is by my house, the elementary school, Sierra Bonita. And you can see the fog just lifting. A really cool picture. It looked better in person, but I snapped a picture of it. And it reminded me of the time of the season that we're in, which can be tough. We just got excited about a holiday and got that over with, and everybody's excited that 2020 is over with. But the next couple of months can be really tough for some families, and part of the tough part of it is it's cold outside, and so to be active and healthy is tough. Susan Chapman's here in the audience. She could speak more to it if she wanted to, but the city a few years ago, as far as in response to helping people know when these inversions happen, which they happen every year, are going to happen again, where air quality is in our city. And so I didn't send this to Nick, but purpleair.com is the website. I think, was there a link to this on the city's website to it? I can't remember if you can get to it from the city's website as well. But this is in response to residents, wondering the air quality around where they live. These are strategically located. If you go to the map of purpleair.com, you'll see them pretty close to all of our elementary schools. Oh yeah, there you go. And you can see those real-time readings. Obviously, when we had a fire a few years back burning in the canyon, and the wind brought that down, those were really red numbers all the time. But yeah, that's a place, a resource for us as residents this next little while to see what those real-time readings are of what the inversion's doing to our air quality around town. Again, appreciate it's going to be a tough year as we're getting hopefully day after day through the pandemic and being able to just get out more around other people. But feel free to look to the city for some direction of how to, through the active and healthy movement, of how to maintain some sense of activity, physical health, but also mental health. And we've tried to focus on that. I know Scott's got an item on the agenda tonight that's speaking to that as well. So again, appreciate all the good work that's went into that for years and years. But this one, I think, is a good reminder every year for myself, but everybody else that we're in a tough couple of months. There's some resources available to you as a citizen of Spanish Fork. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Councilman Gordon.
Mayor, I just wanted to thank staff and Chief Adams and Chief Baum and those that helped give Governor Cox and Lieutenant Governor Deidre Henderson a warm welcome in her hometown. It's a good thing for us to have our Lieutenant Governor from Spanish Fork, and so that was a fun night last night. And so I just wanted to thank staff and first responders for all of the coordination with not only the Secret Service but Highway Patrol throughout that. And it was a lot of moving and shaking, and I'm just proud that we have the Lieutenant Governor from here. So thanks for your help on that. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Councilman Argal.
Nothing at this time. Thank you, Mayor.
Great. All right. Let's, that was kind of cool last night. We're excited to have Deidre Henderson represent Spanish Fork as our Lieutenant Governor, and so we should have her ear through what we need to hear at Spanish Fork. Okay, let's go into Spanish Fork 101. Kelly Peterson. Does anybody know who that guy is? Maybe Chris does. Maybe he's got one of those paragraphs that he's written on his computer. He's kept forever.
So this is a sad day for us in Public Works because Kelly Peterson, our Power and Light Superintendent, is now moving on. He's had a great career, a career that's kind of made him an institution here at the city. And he started a long time ago as a garbage truck driver and loader, and has really moved up through the city to be over our Power and Light Department, and has done so many incredible things with our Power and Light Department. I remember he was looking at how many big outages we've had in town, and they detailed the number exactly, and then set a bunch of goals and got a bunch of action items that they were going to do to try to reduce outages in town, and worked hard on those, and within a few years, about 6 years, they had decreased that by half, and then they decreased it again, and just always trying to do things to make things better for the residents and provide reliable power at a good cost. And really, that's a great test of a leader who can focus on providing a good service for the residents. But one thing that's really impressed me about Kelly is how much he really has loved the guys that he's working with, and safety is such an important thing for him. You can't even talk to him about safety without him tearing up a little bit. He'll just think about and talk about, hey, I don't want to ever have to go to someone's house and tell their spouse that someone passed away on my watch, and that's always been a motto for him, and they've gotten some huge safety awards nationally, even for cities of our size, for how few accidents that he's had in his department is because his focus is there. But even with doing that and being safe, we have some of the lowest power rates, really have a good quality system. I went and worked with one of his crews for a day, and they care about how every little wire is attached and how it's done up, and it was a challenge for them to let me do anything, but they did, but they made sure I did it exactly how they wanted it, and it really was a work of art. And then we closed the hatch, and no one will ever see how good that looked, but that's how they care. That's how much the Power and Light Department cares about the quality of work, and that's why we have such a good system. But on a personal note, to me, Kelly's been a great personal friend, one of my best friends, and I hate to see him go, and just appreciate all that he's done for me in my career, and maybe he has a few things to say. But
Allison wanted to talk first.
It's kind of hard.
This is watched Karen do this. She didn't cry, but guess I'm different. But I got a few people to thank. One of them was Paul Johnson, who called me one day and said, hey, the guy on the garbage truck just parked the truck on the side of the road and quit. Says, if you can start Monday, you got a job. That was my job interview when I started with the city 35 years ago. It was a phone call and said, if you can start Monday, you're hired. He got my foot in the door with the city, and my goal was always to try to get to the power department. I went through the trade tech, through their lineman technology program, and my goal was always to try to get into the power department. It took me 5 years to get my foot in that door and worked my way up through the power department, read meters for a few years, then started an apprenticeship. Once I got my apprenticeship done, I was asked to help build SFCN, the plant out in the field, and a few other projects, and then Jeff Foster retired as the superintendent, and I applied for the job. And I'd like to really thank Dave Euler, Richard Heap, and Seth for having faith in me at that time to take over the power department and try to do what we've done. My goal has always tried to leave the power department in a better place than where I picked it up, and I hope Jake, who is replacing me, has that same mindset of let's take it from where Kelly left it off and make improvements as we go along. So I just want to thank all of you. It's been a fun ride. This has been a good organization to be part of, and I consider all of you family. So, thank you.
Mayor, if I may add just another thought while he's still walking around, I'll be quiet, but.
Sure you will.
I will, I promise. Kelly alluded to this. One of his greatest qualities, and one I've spoken to probably with every new hire that I've interacted with over the last 5 years, his quality is he's always willing to volunteer for it, whatever it is. As he mentioned, building out SFCN, he didn't mention saying, I'll go back to school and become a substation technician in addition to his lineman duties, but he took on that. Allison probably remembers some of that he had to go back to school when he was 29. But he just always volunteers for it, whatever. And because of that, he's got such a breadth and of experience and knowledge about things, and it's made him such a giant here within the organization. And I don't know if we'll be able to replace him in that way, but he is, I think, an example I ask all of the employees to emulate. Be like this, and you'll go places. I love his story, where he started and how he started it, but where he wanted to go and how he got there. At the same time, I'm grateful for how he's prepared Jake, and as we've watched Jake in the last year or so, just really move smoothly over. In large part, that's Jake's own doing, but Kelly's work as well, and so I appreciate Kelly's attitude of I want to leave this a better place, and just really going to miss him. And I told Allison that we won't take him. She can't, there's no return policy once he leaves. But I lied. We'll take him back, and we'll find anything if she gets tired of him. But I kind of feel like she won't. But that's our loss, and her gain, and their family's gain. So we love you, Kelly.
Yeah. Once again, we've got great employees work here, and it's been an honor. Kelly and I have been able to work with Kelly on the UMPA board and SUVPS. So we've worked hand in hand for a lot of years, and I revere him a dear friend, and I want you to know that. And I'm a little upset because I don't know, when we go to a convention, I don't know who's going to buy my baseball cap for me now. You know, that's the one thing Kelly always did. He made sure I got a baseball cap whenever we went to a ball game. So I sure appreciate all the work you've done and the legacy you've left, and it's been fun to watch you grow. And you know, don't be a stranger, Allison. Make sure he's not a stranger. You know. And maybe I can get a free Rootsie Pop from him someday, so that'll be great. All right, thank you. We appreciate you so much. Okay, let's move on. Consent items.
Motion to approve the consent items.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon.
Second.
Second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right. Public hearing, ordinance A01-21, annexing property known as the Swift Creek annexation.
Mayor and Council, the Swift Creek annexation is an annexation of an existing island of Utah County territory. It's about 67.5 acres. The City Council adopted a resolution expressing its intent to annex this area back in November of last year. We've not received any objections of owners of private real property in the area that cover at least a majority of the area or half the value. And so it's appropriate to adopt an ordinance tonight to finalize the annexation. One thing that you need to do with your ordinance is specify the zoning that should apply to the newly annexed territory. The Baum property and the Rocky Mountain Power property should, I think, be left or be designated rural residential, and then the rest would be R115, which is what the DRC and the Planning Commission recommended. Are there any questions on the annexation?
We might have some after the public hearing, so I appreciate that, Vaughn. All right, I'd entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are in public hearing. Anyone that would like to come and address the mayor and the council concerning this annexation, you're welcome to come up there, state your name, and you get your 3 minutes. Or not. All right, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, any questions or comments on this one? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion.
I move we approve ordinance A01-21, annexing property known as the Swift Creek annexation with the zoning designation that Vaughn spelled out that was approved by the other previous bodies.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scobes. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Okay, let's move to new business, FY 2020 Independent Financial Audit. Our favorite stuff.
I'd like to introduce John Hatterley. He's from the firm of Larson and Company, and their firm conducted our independent audit. The audit that is attached to the agenda, so if you want to call that up, you might reference to certain pages inside there. Since last week when that was attached, there's been some slight adjustments or changes, edits he might talk about, nothing material as far as most of it's cosmetic in the headings and stuff like that. So anyway, I'll turn the time over to John. He'll present the independent audit. We're required to have an audit by the state auditor and state law each year. An independent firm comes in and audits us. With this audit this year, there's also a single audit. It sounds kind of a funny name for a single audit, but I'll let John explain what that was. It has to do with the CARES Act, which was also included in this year's audit. So I'll turn the time over to John.
I was under the impression this was going to be a Zoom meeting, so you have to apologize for my dress.
You make your dad proud.
Well, let's leave him out of it. I do like the beards. The beards are looking good. Seth's trying. I keep telling my kids that grass doesn't grow on steel, so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
No, we finished the audit for this year. Sorry we're a little bit late. COVID kind of backed everything up a little bit. Because you got the CARES funding and because we had the single audit, a single audit just means that it's separate from the financial statement audit. So there's actually 2 separate audits that went on. But the Treasury wouldn't issue their compliance supplement. So we were getting direction from the Treasury, you know, from the time they issued CARES, but it kept changing and kind of morphing, and state had their opinion, the county had their opinion, and we were following pretty close to Treasury, but we had to wait to actually get the final compliance supplement to see if, you know, what was going to be allowed and what was not going to be allowed under the CARES funding. So we got that just the day after Christmas, so we hurried and tried to get it done. So that's why we're a little bit later this year. I don't want to take a ton of time. I told Kenton that I'd apologize that you don't have hard copies because we were late, and then I thought it was going to be Zoom. I didn't have time to get them all printed, but I'll get bound copies for each one of you. After the edited changes that we made, we just made some, like Kent said, cosmetic changes. None of the numbers changed. It was more just things that Kent wanted updated in the financial statements as far as like it was different wording and things like that. If you want to turn to page 1, I don't know what page it is on the PDF, but it's the financial statement, page 1. It's our independent auditor's report. And this might be a little bit boring because it's been the same for quite a number of years. But next year they're going to do an overhaul on it. They're going to expand the audit report, so you'll get a new whole level of boring next year. First paragraph is we have audited the financial statements of the city as of June 30th, 2020. And under management's responsibility, these financial statements are really the responsibility of management. They need to know what the accounting principles are. They need to know how to apply those accounting principles, keep the records accurately, make sure that there's, you know, nothing missing in the financial statements, that the disclosures are all appropriately there. And our job is to form an opinion on the financial statements based on tests that we do of those balances. So we take the financial statements from Kent, and we break it down into the trial balance, and then break that further down into individual balances that we test, whether it's through third-party confirmations. We do analytical tests. We'll do recalculation tests, a variety of different tests, and make sure that all the balances are materially correct. And materiality is a term that auditors use. It really what it means is there's no way that we can look at every transaction down to the very penny. It would be way too time consuming and way too costly for the city for us to go into that level of detail. And so we form materiality levels. So each fund is going to have its own materiality level, and it may be $500 and it might be $100,000. It just depends on how big the fund is and what the level of assets or revenue is in each fund. And so we make sure that all of our tests, if we have any differences in our testing, we accumulate all those differences and make sure that they're under that threshold. And we believe that the evidence that we accumulated during our test work gives us sufficient evidence, and it's appropriate to form our opinion. Our opinion is in the bottom paragraph of that page, and it is that the financial statements referred to above, which, referring back to the first paragraph, present fairly in all material respects the financial position of the governmental activities and the business type activities. So that's referring to your government-wide financial statements. And then each major fund, which would be the fund statements, and then the aggregate remaining fund information is a culmination of all your non-major funds. So that's an unqualified or an unmodified opinion. That's a clean opinion, I guess, if you want to refer to it that way. Next page, top paragraph is just required supplementary information. There are certain sections contained in the financial statements, and those are the management's discussion and analysis. And then after the notes, there's a section called required supplementary information. And that information is required to be with the financial statements, but they're not a part of your basic financial statements. I know we're weird as accountants, I'm sorry, but anyway, the reason why they're there is because it gives more readability to the financial statements. So the management's discussion analysis, which immediately follows the audit report, is a good place to read if you want to kind of get a Reader's Digest version of what's in the financial statements. So it's kind of more in layman's terms instead of just raw numbers. It's more descriptive and in Word format. Other information, the combining statements that I mentioned earlier, in the basic financial statements, they're totaled up and summed into one column or opinion unit that we call it. But the city's chosen to include them in their entirety as supplementary information. So you can see the detail of all the smaller non-major funds and see the detail of each one of those funds. And that's considered supplementary information. And our opinion on that always follows what the opinion is on the financial statements. So it's in relation to opinion on the financial statements as a whole. All right, if you want to flip to page 75, so it's going to be close to the very end of the financial statements. This is our report that we're required to issue for government auditing standards. I won't go through the letter in entirety. It just reiterates that we look at your internal controls, not to give an opinion on your internal controls, but we make sure that they're actually existing and that they're functioning. And the reason why we do that is we plan our testing around your internal controls. So if you have strong internal controls and we test your internal controls in one area, then we can do, just our basic procedures. And if we find that you have control deficiencies or weak internal controls in a significant audit area, then we have to increase our testing to get to the same level of assurance. Page 77, state compliance report. This is the one that we're required to issue for the state auditor. And you can see the indented section there. Those are the areas that we were required to test this year. You'll see the new one, the fraud risk assessment, and I'll mention that briefly in a minute. But our opinion is that the city complied in all material specs with state compliance requirements. There was one small state compliance finding that we'll talk about. Nothing material, which is why it's not contained in this report. Page 79, if you want to flip to the next report. So this is the single audit report. It used to be OMB 133, but now they've kind of revamped it, and it now has an even longer title, but we just call it the Uniform Guidance. So they've kind of compiled all of the federal compliance requirements into one supplement. So uniform guidance or single audit, you'll hear those terms used interchangeably. And really what this report does is we have to look at any federal money that you received, and we determine which ones are major programs, and then we test those major programs to make sure that you are in compliance with those requirements of that specific grant. And there may be one grant that we test, and there may be several grants that we test. It just depends on the amount of funding that you received. For this year, it was just the CARES money. The CARES money is what caused you to have a single audit. Our opinion is a compliance opinion, just like state compliance. And in our opinion, the Spanish Fork City complied in all material specs with the types of compliance requirements referred to above that could have a direct and material effect on the financial statements. All right. The next couple of pages is just kind of reiteration of information that we accumulate during the single audit. We don't need to go through all of them, but you can see under number 7, if you scroll down just a bit, the Coronavirus Relief Fund is the actual grant that you received, and that's the CARES money. So there's quite a few COVID-19 grants that are available, but the CARES funding falls under just the Coronavirus Relief Fund. And you can see on page, if you flip 2 pages, this is your schedule of federal awards. So this is driven off of the money that you actually spent during the year of federal money. So you got an airport grant, and then a state and community highway safety grant. So out to the right-hand side, you can see how much you spent in every grant. So you can see the CARES money was $2.1 million that you accrued back into 2020 and used for expenditures in 2020. All right, and then we'll flip over to the smaller PDF. And just real quick, I'll go through this quickly. Just remember that accounting estimates are always in the financial statements, and these are things that we're required to communicate to you as a governing body every year. With accounting estimates, we identify the estimates that are in the financial statements, and we make sure that they're consistent over time, that they don't have big fluctuations that change your financial data year to year. There were no difficulties in performing the audit. There were no uncorrected misstatements. There were no disagreements with management that we're aware of. Management representations, we get a representation letter signed by management that's kind of a full disclosure document that they've been forthcoming and honest with everything that we've asked for or that we are in need of in order to give our opinion. Consultations with other accountants. If there is an issue that arises and there's a disagreement between us and management, whether it's an accounting principle, whether it's a disclosure, the city can go out and talk to a third-party auditor, and the only thing that we require is that we also have access to that third-party auditor so we can get together and come to a consensus and finish up the audit. All right. The exciting part for the night is the finding. So the gun club department just had, they went over budget for the year. And budget findings aren't ones that I really like, just because I feel like it's really hard to, sometimes there's unexpected things. And so I don't see this as an ongoing issue, which is why we have it in our management letter rather than in the state compliance letter. The reason why it went over was there was a capital asset purchase that wasn't budgeted for. And so by the time it had been recognized, the year was over and the budgets had been closed out. And that caused the fund to go over. When we talked to Kent and Jordan about it, they were aware of the situation. But they assured us that that would be taken care of, that this wouldn't be a finding going forward. Status of prior year findings, there was one prior year finding last year. It was the garbage fund that was over budget, but that was corrected that they didn't go over budget this year, so they'd taken care of their side of things. It was just the gun club this year, so maybe next year we won't have any budget findings. So with that, I promised you I'd talk a little bit about the fraud risk assessment. I don't know, I think Kent, did you present it to the council? I hope you did. Otherwise, you're going to have a finding next year. So Kent, you guys are aware of the fraud risk assessment, and this is something that the state auditors have come up with. I'm kind of on the fence with it. I've had quite a few heated discussions with the state auditors about it. In fact, I just had a 2-hour conversation with Jeremy at the state a couple days ago about it. I don't know that I don't necessarily agree with the way they did it, and the reason why is you're basing your fraud risk on a point scale, where I look at your fraud risk every year as part of our audit, and we do it through a number of different ways. We do it through inquiries, we do it through walkthroughs, we do it based on your staff and what we know of your staff, your education level. There's so many things that go into fraud risk that it's hard for me to say, hey, you have low fraud risk because you scored really good on this survey. So I don't really like that part of it. I do like the fact that it's getting people to talk about internal controls. Internal controls are so critical. And so you as a council, I think that after my discussion with Jeremy, I think you'll see that it'll probably be directed more towards you as a council in the future rather than Jordan or Kent having to fill that out. Because if something happens, they're not going to go to Jordan and Kent. They're going to come to the council and say, guess what happened in your city? And the buck stops with you guys. So you guys need to know and understand what is contained in that questionnaire. And that's one of the reasons why Kent was required to present it to you as a council. But my recommendation is, I don't really care what you got scored on for the state. I don't agree that they're going to publicize it, because I feel like if you scored good, you're almost lulling yourself into a false sense of security of, hey, we have we have low fraud risk, nothing's going to happen in our city, and then you're going to sit back and relax, and bam, something's going to happen. Or you're going to score really low, and everybody's going to know that you don't have good controls. And what if somebody comes and says, hey, I want a job, with the intent of knowing that you don't have good controls, and their devious intent is to commit fraud. So I think by publicizing something like that, it really is potentially opening up the city to something happening in the future. But my recommendation is use that as a tool to talk about, number one, implementing an audit committee. And what does an audit committee mean? Who should be on your audit committee? What should their role be? Do you have somebody that can serve as an internal auditor, or utilize your staff, whether it's Jordan or Seth or Tyler? They're all financial people. They can go into different departments and do internal audit tests. Those are the type of things that are going to prevent fraud in the future. No one understands what separation of duties is, how to look at a process and identify key controls that have to be separated. So my recommendation is use that as a tool to help protect your city and keep you guys out of the newspaper, because I don't want to be in the newspaper either. So that's my 2 cents on it. I've been talking to all of our cities and counties about it, just because I want you to know and understand really the underlying significance of it. And like I said, we've had a lot of conversations with the state. I think they're going to change some of the things that are happening with it. They understand that it was kind of a first time, just throw it out there and let's see what happens. It really hasn't been received that well. There's been a lot of pushback. A lot of cities they don't want to be honest about it because they're afraid of, retribution, or they're kind of overcompensating and say, hey, yeah, we have these things, so we're going to score high, when they really don't. And so, be honest with yourselves and really just use it as a tool to get better. So that's all I had. If anybody has questions, then fire away.
Do you want my standard question?
Sure.
Is anybody going to jail?
Depends on if I get pulled over on the way home.
Well, there you go. Just make sure you're outside of Spanish Fork, you'll be fine.
Well, hopefully someday we'll be part of Spanish Fork.
There you go.
But I got clean air, so I'm good.
Oh, so do we. That's why we have that nice wind. Thank you. We appreciate that.
Really appreciate working with you guys.
Yeah, we look forward to that every year, that presentation. All right, we need to accept that audit, is that correct? So I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to accept FY 2020 independent financial audit.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Argyle, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Golf course rate adjustments.
Okay, that's a hard act to follow. I'm here tonight to talk about the golf course rates. We won't go into a whole lot of detail. We had a meeting, Ryan Reese, our golf professional, on December 8th, presented to all of you in a work session what our proposed plan was in order for us to increase the rates a little bit to keep up with the market. Basically, your increase is $1 for 9 holes, which is $2 for 18 holes. There's some variations on that for passes that work their way through the equation. So that is the first thing. If you want me to answer any questions about that, I'm happy to do that. That's the basis for the golf rates. We had the Burger Boys, who have been running our cafe operation at the golf course, have decided to leave and pursue other professional pursuits. And so we put out an RFP to find a new golf course operator for our cafe. We didn't get any until the 12th hour. And we had Ashley Shepard from Shep's Catering come forward and express an interest in operating that cafe, as well as managing the event center. Now, those of you that may or may not know Ashley, they're the ones building the new reception center out here on North Main. I don't remember what they call it, River Bridge or something. I think it's River Bridge. We're kind of excited about this, frankly. This was like manna falling from heaven for us. Because not only did she come forward and say, I'm interested, but she's in the industry. And I think she's going to do wonders for the golf course. They have a tremendous catering business. They also have, obviously she's going to be promoting her wedding reception center, which is not in direct conflict with us because we're at a different level in terms of cost. And so we're pretty excited. She gets a lot of phone calls for her reception center, and if it's somebody that's looking for something a little less expensive, she just takes them to the golf course. So I think it's going to be a real good relationship for us. The contracts that we've put in before you that are proposed are for a year. We're going to do this for a year and kind of see how this goes for us and for her. We've met with her several times over the last couple of weeks. Ryan has, and I have. One of the things that we're going to propose differently than what's written in that contract, Ashley put the pencil to this and did some calculating and felt like we either needed to raise our rates or increase her percentage for the event center. She just doesn't feel like she can make it work, and we're very interested in giving her a try. But we felt like rather than raise the rates on the event center, because we're in a pretty good position in the market right now and still fairly new in the marketplace in terms of our center, that we would rather increase her percentage 5%, which she said she thinks she can make work. So on the contract that's there, the previous events manager was getting 30%. We're proposing to increase that to 35 on her contract. Any questions? Okay.
You must have done a good job.
Where'd he go? I was going to say he lulled him to sleep. That worked out really well for me.
And you're good at that. All right, let's take these as two separate motions. First of all, let's I'd entertain a motion on the golf course rate adjustment.
I move that we approve the golf course rate adjustment.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, then I'll entertain a motion on the golf course concession event center management contract with the adjustment that Dale said.
I move to approve the golf course concession/event center management with the 35% commission.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Beck, second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Okay, next item, AUDIT donation agreement.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm Scott Aylett, the Library Director, and tonight I'm excited to be here and talk with you tonight about an opportunity that we have at the library to help perpetuate and be a player in the Spanish Fork Active and Healthy movement that we have that Councilman Mendenhall mentioned earlier. We were approached a few months ago by Utah Naloxone, which is a subdivision of the University of Utah Medical Department through their Department of Pediatrics, to participate in their naloxone program. So I'll talk a little bit about what it is and what it means for the library and what it means for our residents. So naloxone, also known as Narcan. Narcan is kind of the another name essentially for naloxone, is a medication that's designed to rapidly reverse opioid overdoses. Our public safety department currently carries this through their police officers as well as through the EMS employees. Essentially what it does is it quickly reverses the effects of an opioid overdose, either through heroin or through prescription pain medications. So what Utah Naloxone does is they've set up a program where they work with community organizations to provide opportunities for free distribution of naloxone kits to the public. So family members or friends who may have concerns of potential overdose among their circles can receive a free naloxone kit that they have on hand in case a family member or a friend were to accidentally overdose on again, heroin or prescription medication. This program's been in place in the state of Utah since 2017. It's funded through grants. Since 2017, they've distributed 2,500 kits, and several different libraries throughout the state are participating in this. All 20 branches of the Salt Lake County Library system participate. All of the branches of the Salt Lake City system participate. And more recently, 3 libraries here within Utah County have signed on to this program. We would be the 4th if you were to approve this agreement this evening, and I know that they're in talks with other libraries in the county as well. So how the program works is Utah Naloxone trains our library staff on the proper distribution and even use of these naloxone kits. Now, it wouldn't necessarily be staff that would be actually using the kits. It's more of we're a distribution site for family and friends to come in and collect these kits for free. So again, Utah Naloxone would donate these kits to the library, and they are free to the public. And then our responsibility at the library would be to report back to Utah Naloxone the number of kits that we distribute as we distribute those. So some common concerns that we've heard in talking with other libraries who have participated as well as communicating with Utah Naloxone have been what liability is there for the city if we were to participate in this. And Utah state law makes it so that there's no liability on our part as a community distributor of these kits. What's important in this is that if we ever distribute a kit to an individual, that we indicate to them that they need to call 911 if they ever use the kit. So that's one of those important things that we have to do as a distributor to make sure that we are not liable. What's the cost? Again, this is all funded through grant funds, and so there's no cost to us. We don't have to pay for the kits or anything like that. We receive them for free as a donation from the University of Utah. Another common concern that other libraries have heard, as well as the Utah Naloxone organization, is what types of groups or individuals may this attract to the library? And frankly, it isn't much of a concern because as they've done this for several years, what they've noticed and learned is that the individuals coming into the library to collect or receive a naloxone kit typically isn't the drug user, and oftentimes we don't even know who the drug user is. In the state of Utah, for overdose cases, 60% of overdoses in the state of Utah are prescription medications. And of those overdoses, the largest demographics are first women between the ages of 48 and 54, and second, children between the ages of 0 and 4, because they're oral explorers. They like to put things into their mouth, and so they find a prescription bottle at home, put it in their mouth, and they overdose. And so, again, according to the state, through Utah Naloxone and University of Utah Health, again, we don't really know who those drug users are. But in most cases, they found that those individuals coming in to get a kit is a concerned family member or friend. There's an interesting case, speaking with Salt Lake County, they talked about there was an older gentleman that came into the library one day to get a kit because his wife recently had hip surgery and is a little forgetful and wasn't great at remembering when she took her medication. And his concern was if she were to accidentally take too much of her pain medication post-op. And so he wanted to have a naloxone kit on hand in case his wife were to accidentally overdose after her surgery. So that's kind of the big concern that a lot of libraries have. And what's interesting is when this program first started, the Utah naloxone first targeted firehouses, fire stations to be the distribution site. And they have found that libraries innately have this sense of safety, a sense of welcoming, and people were less concerned or worried about going to a library to collect a kit for themselves or for a family member than, say, going to the fire station. And so we feel like it's safe and appropriate for our library to be a distribution site for our community members and be a player in this active and healthy movement within our community, as family members and friends may see a need for this. This was presented and proposed to the library board for approval or for a recommendation of approval to the city council. They reviewed it back in November and they recommended unanimously that it be approved by the city council. So that is why I'm here tonight, to answer any questions that you may have and bring it before you for approval. So I'll entertain any questions or concerns that you all have.
Where's it available now?
Where is it available now?
In our city?
That's a good question. I don't know. I can follow up and see if there are any community distributors in town, but.
Chief knows.
Pharmacies.
Is it free at the pharmacy? Or is it by prescription? Come up here, Chief.
So it typically is by prescription, and so this is prescribed through the program. But Susan, if you have.
Come up here.
Susan, you need to come up so the 10 million people can see you in TV land.
So if you go, currently you can go to useonlyasdirected.org and it's distributed through there. And you can look up how to get it, but the pharmacy, you can get it as well. But it is currently through grant funds. And can I just take a moment to also talk about this? Is that okay? Is that out of time? Okay.
Yes, you
okay.
can.
Well, I never know, because I talk a little bit
put the clock
much
up, Scott.
is that okay, Scott? So this is a very important time because we've seen 3 waves of the opioid epidemic. Right? And we were seeing from the year 2000 to the year 2015, we had seen a 400% increase in opioid death. And then during our COVID pandemic, we've seen an increase. We are making headway on this, and then we have started to see an increase again. So this is a very important time, and there's 3 reasons for this. First of all, people are worried about going to the hospital right now. And so that's something that we always worry about in a pandemic, are these deaths that occur because people worry about going to the hospital. So to have Narcan or naloxone, I can never say it, naloxone. Am I saying that right, Scott? Naloxone. I kind of mix the 2 words, but in a home, available to those who are struggling is really important. Another thing that's occurred, and Chief Adams can probably talk about this better than I can, is because of the barriers that have occurred during COVID with the distributors, with these illegal distributors, the drug has changed in itself. There's a new drug out that's been on the streets that has made it more potent. And so we've seen an increase of death because of this. And then people having more despair at this time is a concern as well. And so there's been an increase in use. So to have this at a safe place, because people don't, like Scott said, to go into a pharmacy can be intimidating for a lot of people. And also, they don't know who is going to see them at the grocery store or wherever they're at, or to go to a fire station. And so a library is a safe place for a lot of people. So to have this program is something that we can do here as a city to be able to help a lot of people. I personally have had a family member who suffered from an overdose and that was life-flighted. And we watched for several days, not knowing if they were going to live or die. And so this would have made a difference in my own family. And so since then, I've contacted and talked to a lot of families who have lost family members. And so I really appreciate this coming to our library. I think it's a really good thing. So does anybody else have any questions about this that I can?
Thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Thanks, Susan.
Any other questions? Scott or Susan or Chief? All right, thanks, Scott.
Okay, so if we can get an approval for that agreement, that would be great.
Okay. All right, I'd entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the naloxone donation agreement.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, that passes. UMPA interconnection agreement for solar power.
Mayor and Council, the UMPA interconnection agreement is an agreement that governs the connection of the solar project, the solar panel project, to the city system. You know, it lasts at the same term as the lease agreement that you approved for the property back in September last year. It governs a lot of different things. It addresses the standards of construction, operations, metering, things like that, outages and emergencies. And importantly, it addresses the costs of the installation and which facilities belong to which entity. Some are UMPA and some are Spanish Fork. Kevin Garlick from UMPA is here to address any of the technical things that I don't understand. If you have any questions about the agreement, I'd be happy to do my best.
Any questions? I know Kevin is dying to get up here and talk to us. Do you want to come up and say a few words about this, Kev?
Mayor, members of the council, it's great to be with you.
You're going to tell them who you are.
So I'm Kevin Garlick with Utah Municipal Power Agency. I'm the generation VP. And again, this I would summarize the agreement as a way of defining the roles and responsibilities of UMPA that is building the solar project and going to interconnect into Spanish Fork's system. And the real intent is to make sure that that solar farm, when it's operating, will not impact the Spanish Fork power system. So it has designs in the system that if there's a outage, an interruption, something electrically faults, it will isolate itself and not impact the customers of Spanish Fork. And that's pretty standard practice within the utility business. And the form of the agreement is kind of set up by the federal government, so we've kind of followed that same form and gone through the proper engineering studies to make sure everything has been done well. My hats go off to Vaughn in helping us go through the legal process here. Junior Baker's been involved on the UMPA side of this, but also your technical team of Kelly Peterson and Jake Tyre has been very helpful. So if there's no other questions, look forward to.
Anybody got a question? You might want to tell them how many kilowatts?
I thought you knew all these facts.
I'd love to hear you tell them.
Okay. So again, this is a community solar project. It's designed for 4,000 kilowatts of capacity, generating about 7,200 megawatt hours. And again, we have already talked to a number of businesses, haven't really talked to the residential customers out there, but just businesses in Spanish Fork and other UMPA member cities have already expressed an interest to take an allocation of the power. So again, this is a project that will be able to serve those people that would like rooftop solar, but maybe not have the option of putting the rooftop solar on their house. They can subscribe through Spanish Fork Power or another member city in UMPA to take an allocation of this power from the solar farm. And again, we're excited that there's a lot of work going on out there. We'll start to see fencing going up here in the next month, and the solar panels are on site, and the racking will show up in another month, and you'll just see a lot of activity as that solar garden grows.
There you
What is
go.
the official timeline then?
It should be operational by May, supposed to be totally complete by June, but should start to be operational by May
Do
sometime.
the panels move?
These are not. These are all fixed. Again, given the landscape that we're working on, these panels are anchored on top, so they're ballasted so we don't pier the cap of the landfill.
Oh, okay.
So that's what the whole idea is we're being very careful not to have to deal with the landfill itself, and just placing these panels to give it a little different look than just a landfill.
Thank you. Thanks, Kevin. Junior, I know you sat through this meeting, and, you know, we always like to hear from you if you want to say anything.
I think
Okay,
it's,
good.
I think it's worth pointing out.
He's going to announce he's coming out of it.
Yeah, I thought maybe you, yeah, you decided to come back.
Mayor, I think it's worth pointing out that UMPA's attorney is wearing a Spanish Fork City shirt. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's way cool. Way cool. All right, if there's no other questions, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve UMPA interconnection agreement for the solar project.
A motion by Councilman Argal.
Second.
Second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that'll be kind of fun. Okay, East Bench Utility Agreement.
As the East Bench, we call it the Northeast Bench, which is this area north of Highway 6. As it develops, one of the things that we've come upon is a need for another pressurized irrigation feed into that area to keep pressures up for the sprinkler systems. And we've had this plan for a while. It's included in the bond that was approved. And as we got ready to bid this out, quite a few developments came to the table in this area. And we realized quickly that if we all worked together, then we could install this and the other utilities from the southeast area of the city up into this area all together and create as little disruption as we can on these narrow county roads. It's really hard to put utilities in a narrow piece of asphalt and not disrupt a lot of the lives of the people in that area. There's just no way to do it without closing the road off for a significant amount of time. And so knowing that, we only want to do it once. And so we've worked really hard with these developers to all come to the table, pay a fair share of the amount of the cost and get it all done at once. And that's what this agreement is. It's actually been worked on quite a bit by our development engineer, Michael Clark, and hats off to him for bringing these competing interests and developers all together and getting them to agree on working together and getting this done. And he's done a great job on that. And I think this will be a great project for the city. In the end, each entity will actually, including the city, expend less money than we would have working separately by quite a bit. So, any questions?
Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the East Bench Utility Agreement.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That passes. All right, board appointments. I've got a few board appointments I'd like to run through here. On the seniors board, I'd like to reappoint Jan Carlisle. Marcia Stegel, Dan Batchelor, Janice Orr, and Jerry Hansen. On the arts, I'd like to reappoint Gladys Higginbottom, Sandy Coxum, Cammie Jensen, Karma Christensen, Candy Brandon, Whitney Hancock. On the library, reappoint Nicholas, how do you pronounce that? Huh? Nicole.
No, Howlett.
Hallowed. There you go. That's what I was after. Thank you, Lee. Thank you, and Julie Rust. And then on the Parks and Rec, I'd like to reappoint Gary Briggs, Laura Olson, and Susan Barber.
I move we approve the mayor's appointments.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I move we go into closed session for reasonably imminent litigation and land transaction.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank everyone for being here and watching.